So I was going to be all creative and do a project, and then took a class on motivation and realized I'm not motivated. So I gave up on that like last night. Anyway, basically I did my paper on Caetano Veloso and his life, and I was kind of looking at three main points and kind of how they interact with him and his music. And what I was looking at was censorship, um, exile, and then just like identity. And we all kind of read about him and his friend Gilbert, whatever. And so y'all know the government in Brazil took over, kind of got all crazy. The military took over the government in 1968, and at that time he had already started playing music, and he was a philosophy student before, and so he was already working on that scene. But when the government took over, they kind of, him and his friends were kind of pissed off, and so they started to change their musical style and write about, you know, how they felt about society and politics and stuff like that as a way of expressing their feelings towards the new government. We've already talked about Whitney did a great example of showing the oppression of the government. And basically, kind of just looking at, I don't know, you see, like, they were all censoring him and stuff, and he was writing music to kind of express that. There was one song talking about how it's forbidden to forbid, and just kind of angry at the government, saying, you know, you shouldn't be allowed to do this kinds of things. And there was another song where he talked about he who must not be named in a reference to Che, because I guess the government wasn't allowing them to talk about him because he was a revolutionary. And so he put it in his song in a way that was subtle and stuff. So kind of just looking at, you know, how the government was trying to control what was being said and stuff. And we all know eventually, you know, the government's disagreeing with him and their statement, and their music got him and Gilberto Gil, you know, jailed, house arrested, and then they actually exiled themselves. They weren't allowed to do any music, so they kind of just left the country and went to Europe. And that kind of took another turn in my paper, which was looking at his identity when he was not in Brazil. And so when he went to London, all his music kind of switched, and it started being in English first off, which is different than Portuguese, obviously. And then, like, I was listening to it, and you know, I don't know if you guys, I think we had a video about Tropicalian music, and it's all tropical and like reggae and all funky. Well, the music during his time in exile, like, I was listening to the song called London, London, sounded like the Beatles, really. There was no, it seemed kind of dead and sad, and like the lyrics were just talking about, you know, there's freedom and stuff, which he didn't have in Brazil, which is why he was like exiled. He exiled himself, but there wasn't very friendly people, and it was lonely, and he kept saying how lonely he was. And there was another song about how blue he is, and basically just looking at his struggle with, you know, his passion in music, and then what the government would allow and would not allow, and how that affects his identity as a person, like, you know, stuff like that, basically, was kind of what I was focusing on. It's kind of hard to say, because, like, I was looking at lyrics, but they're in Portuguese, and then things like that. I think that was it.